Shall we begin?
All right. I'm going to go ahead and start with the Marvel games, why they are just overall better in execution, gameplay. I'm not saying that they're the best, but if you didn't see the previous video, it deals with DC and the relation on how they compare to Marvel. So let's get into it. So first up, this is where it kind of starts. Once again, I'm not going to be doing every last Marvel game, but I've picked quite a plethora and we've got a lot to get through. So I want to start here with the X-Men Genesis version and also to this right here, which was incredible. And this is where it starts, people. It starts right here. You've got X-Men with characters like Archangel and Iceman. This was a fantastic game. And then the X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, done by Capcom way back then for Super Nintendo and Genesis. And these were great for like normies or people who didn't read comic books. Now, I read comic books, but I had friends who didn't read comic books or anybody else. They were just like, oh, I've heard about the X-Men, or their first introduction to them were video games. And then, so this is where it starts. And these two games in particular at the time were about a 7 or 8 as far as on a scale of 1 to 10, as far as graphics, fun, all of that. Well, I mean, DC was just not doing the same thing at the same time. How about this? Some of you around my age, if you're a older otaku, remember this game? Maximum Carnage. You got Spider-Man, you got Venom, and you got Carnage. Same thing. And it had a great advertising commercial, same as like with Mortal Kombat. There were just certain commercials and certain things that came out where you were just like, I have to get that game. I consider this a classic. All right. So Marvel then did something really unique, and you're going to hear me repeat myself over and over again saying certain things. And this is one thing that I'm going to say versus DC as far as their games overall, and that they were much more innovative and did much more unique things before DC, or, you know, DC just didn't execute it the same way, or their message didn't come across. And I don't understand how come there wasn't excitement or large fan base, because I see on YouTube and I hear people saying they're DC fans, but when it comes to their games, and that's what we're talking about in particular, they don't do well. And maybe it's just the company itself. But anyway, Marvel Ultimate Alliance is like a Marvel mini universe, because you've got Avengers, you've got X-Men, you've got Ghost Rider, you got Thor, you even have Blade in here, and Elektra. You got Elektra in there, and The Thing, and Luke Cage. You know what I mean? Multiple players, multiple characters, skill tree, so many characters to unlock. It was fantastic. Now, another thing that Marvel did that was really smart, and you may disagree, but it is still brilliant, is that they went after the kids, which is what DC was trying to also do a little bit with like some of the games. If you saw the previous video, I brought up maybe about 2 to 3 games where they also tried to do the same thing, because there was like DC Lego Dimensions or something like that. Here we got Lego Marvel's Superheroes and Marvel Superhero Squad. Now, it might not be for you. I knew a lot of adults, though, that did play the Lego Marvel game, including myself. Those were a lot of fun. They actually had really good senses of humor. But then this is how they get the kids involved, because some of the other Marvel games were much more complicated, but they made games to where they start the kids off here on these 2 games, and then they can graduate to more complicated games. And let's not forget about much more mature games like Deadpool, which was definitely much more violent and had much more language, or even something like this. You had X-Men Origins Wolverine, where it was much more violent. There was actually blood in the game and all of these other things. So, yeah, Marvel had the gambit of bringing up had enough to where they were expanding different gameplay types with different characters. If they were violent, so be it. It's violent. They're if they had language in it, so be it. All right, let's keep this going. This is a good one. If you don't own this game, or if you've never, if you're a collector, you're an older otaku or young and watching this, go find this game or go look at a trailer. It is Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. Innovative, once again. One reason why is because you have something like Spider-Man Noir, where the game is completely in black and white. You got Spider-Man 2099, which is one of my favorite Spider-Man of all time. And then you got present day, and they all interact and all that other stuff. Great storytelling. I think it's a fantastic game. Speaking of, the Ultimate Alliance, I wanted to just bring this one up. This one was exclusively for the Wii or the Wii U. Somebody can clear it up for me. But how come DC didn't have something like this? Now, I think they kind of tried. I don't know if I missed it in my video. Someone could bring it up. But Nintendo, knowing quality, knowing characters and things like that, made this exclusive. And you got characters, of course, like Star-Lord, who's new, Doctor Strange. You got Black Panther. You even got Miles Morales in here. I didn't know he was in there. Wasp. Hawkeye. You got Falcon, Songbird. All of these other like obscure characters in there. So they were in there. Next one I want to bring up is a no-brainer. No-brainer at all. And that's the Marvel versus Capcom series, where they did all of these Marvel games. I mean, you know the graphics. You know the chaos. You know the execution. And even though these games weren't in 3D and had it just had a lot of fun and a lot of things that captured what was in the comic books and also what was in the animations. Because, mind you, even during this time, there were a lot of people who weren't reading the comic books, but they had started playing those X-Men and Avengers games all the way back in the 90s, in the early 2000s. And now you got characters like Cable and Morrow, who are from the X-Men. There's a Sentinel, mixing it up with the Capcom universe. So let's get these out of here. And there's so many more. Now, here's a game that is, without a doubt, an 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5 out of 10. And if you're a collector, go buy this game. Look at the footage on YouTube or something like that. I'm not going to show any video footage because it'll just make this a lot longer. But it's Hulk Ultimate Destruction. It is the best Hulk games of all time. You could wall run. You can destroy pretty much 80% of everything that's in the city. You can flatten over things, as you see right there. It is insane. And not only that, let me get rid of some of these things here. I'm going to have to do a video for this. That you can turn cars or trucks or something like that into gauntlets that you fight with. You can pick up and catch missiles out of the air and throw them back. You can pick up tanks and use the turret as a club. You can use things, I think, like iron beams as spears. It's just got so much pick up and go. And you've got even weird things like this, where the Hulk is literally surfing on this 18-wheeler truck. And I don't mean sliding for like 3 seconds. I mean, you can slide down the road and turn around and do a 360 like you're driving it. It is 1000% fun, chaos. It is great. And I can't name anything from DC that was even close to this. let alone another Marvel game. So I have started to collect Disney Infinity. Now, I'm a Disney Infinity fan. I still have some of the figures. But you know what? I never collected all of the Marvel ones. And I want to say that this is legit. There were adults, there were teenagers, and definitely kids playing this. First of all, I do like the figures. The combat is much more in a fighting game, beat 'em up style than the Lego games or the Superhero Squad. As you see here, Thor using his powers against the ice giants. Look at the detail. The city is gigantic. Here's Nova fighting this is the Spider-Man storyline. And that's one thing I love about the Disney Infinity is that depending on what characters you had, the adventure set was like Spider-Man or, the Avengers or Guardians of the Galaxy. And it was just pure just fun. You know what I mean? And then they had their like versus mode. You could do team, you could do individual, you could do free for all. And there's objects almost even like you could fight it like almost, not every stage, but I want to bring this up. There are things in it that were kind of almost like, and I'm going to say this because I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it does remind me of it. And that's Smash Brothers. Even though, and I was just saying like hazards and stuff like that. So anyway, there's that. And there was so much in it. Like they even had like a horde mode where you're just going through. Here you see like enemies. So you got the ice giants and then you got the robots from Guardians of the Galaxy. You got Nova, Hulk, so forth and so on. I like this picture here of Iron Fist. You had characters who had their own skill trees. I know I'm talking a lot about that, but here's another thing that was interesting about Disney Infinity is that it had Black Panther and it had Falcon. DC does not do anything for black characters. Like we've had Storm in games. We've had Bishop in games. Like I told you before, Blade has been in games. Luke Cage has been in games. But with DC, you'll get like Cyborg and you'll get like Jon Stewart. And that's kind of it. Speaking of which, yeah, those are background characters. But what about other characters? Well, look at this. Blade had his own game way back in PlayStation 1. Has DC done anything like that? And Blade is like my number one character from the Marvel Universe. So, but not only did they make one, but they made two. And they were supposed to be making, because the movie was going to be coming out probably this year or next year. Next year, they made another game by Mattel, by Activision, same people that do Call of Duty. Blade 2, and I have both of them. Now, once again, in all of these games, I'm not saying that they're, 9s and 10s or anything like that. I'm just saying that there's some fun factor in there. Some of these games, repetitive, that you'll see that. You'll see mixed scores. Some people will say, oh, that game's like a 5 out of 10. The camera work is wonky and things. And I will totally agree. But what I will say is that they have taken more chances and done more things than DC has. And there is some replay value in some of these games. Like I own the Blade games because it has just enough gameplay where I like. They could have been better, yes. I give them both about a 6. Maybe to somebody else, maybe they're like a 5. 6.5 maybe because I like the character too. But they even made a game for Ghost Rider. And guess who's the secret character in that? It is none other than Blade. You beat the game and it's Blade. And here's the innovative part about the Ghost Rider. You actually ride the Hell Cycle and travel around like Twisted Metal with the chains, doing combat. And then there are times when you're off the motorcycle and it's a 3D beat 'em up brawler thing. And there's Hellfire and things like that. And yeah, you unlock Blade, and he's a playable character at the end. DC, where you at? Once again, Spider-Man #2, I'll bring that up. Let's go into some mobile games. I did talk about that before on the DC. So I see YouTube streamers talking about Snap. It pops up regularly. It's very popular. I haven't played it, but I know it's very popular and people are very interested. How about this? Contest of Champions. Recently, it's gotten on Steam. I don't consider this a full-fledged fighting game. It is a mobile game. I do like the character artwork, and I love that they have so many characters from the Marvel Universe. I mean, I think they have the entire Marvel Universe, even obscure characters. I mean, they go deep, 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 deep into Marvel lore to make some characters, but it's there. And it seems to be popular, and the execution is there, So let's delete that. Let's take that down. And this was a shocker. Nobody would have thought this was coming. I mean, I had always hoped, but Marvel Rivals, an Overwatch clone. I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Some of the characters don't quite play the way I think they should play, like Captain America and Thor. I think their main attack should be the shield and the hammer, but it's not like that. It's a little weird. Some characters play a little bit more interesting. But overall, at the time of this recording, Blade is supposed to come out, as well as Jean Grey, the Phoenix. And where you at, DC? And once again, I'm going to emphasize this. You've got some black characters in there. You know what I mean? You've got Storm. You've got Black Panther. And now you got Blade. 3 right there. And we've seen the graphics and the art style and the skins for this is just amazing. And the detail and just the style, the maps and the way the character plays. And now they got the Fantastic Four in there. And what can I say but innovative and fun, I think it's just going to keep going. They're going to keep adding on characters and doing the skins and keep on keeping on. And I keep seeing, DC fanboys going, "Oh, what about a DC Rivals?" No. It's not going to be the same. Nice try. Now, I want to go old school here for a second, because I think there's a successor to this game. And it's Captain America and the Avengers. Now, this is the one on Sega Genesis. I didn't know that, by the way. Probably I didn't have a Sega Genesis at the time. I played the arcade version of this. And anyway, I love this game. And I know lots of other people who I've met over the decades who love this game too. And this is Vision, like the ghost version of him, ghost skin or whatever. Iron Man or Ghost Android or whatever you call it, Captain America, and Hawkeye. So you got 2 in the air, 2 on the ground, and it's got some really cool combat in it. I really love how visual, like the colors just pop out. They're going against Red Skull. That's a cutscene right there. And let's see. Let me show you an action screen right here, and then one other thing that makes it unique. So here's the comic book part where he throws his shield and it whack and it comes back, it ricochets and things like that. You got flying characters, interactive backgrounds and stuff like that. But the one little cool part, just when you think it's an ordinary beat 'em up, you get to a section like this and it turns into a shooter. Captain America and Hawkeye get on this sky sled or sky bike kind of thing where Iron Man and Vision fly. And they fight against a Sentinel or a monster or robots or whatever. And it's a cool little change up. and that sort of thing. And just a lot of fun. But I feel there's a game that is the successor to that.
It's 5 o'clock.
Thank you for telling me it's 5 o'clock. And that's Marvel's Cosmic Invasion. This looks fan-freaking-tastic. This is supposed to come out this fall. And I want to say that... Oh, hold on. Bringing things out. There we go. Like, look at this artwork. This looks amazing. This looks great. And I think they actually played it because it just gives me that sense of style. And there are people who are reacting over and over and making videos. And where's DC's version of this? And how come it doesn't get the same excitement? And once again, execution. And they're even bringing in, once again, obscure characters in here like Annihilus. I love Annihilus. I want the live action version of Annihilus because I think he would be menacing and awesome. But they have the female Quasar. I think her name's like Farbell or something like that. I can't remember how to pronounce it. But yeah, it's you can switch between characters. There's combos, so forth and so on. And then let's talk about the last game. And this was a shocker. Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, where we get Marvel done in a kind of a Arc System Works manga style. You know, what makes this game unique is that it's not a 2-tag system or 3. It is going to be the first 4-tag system fighting game. Never been done before. DC, where you at? Now, I know this is designer and things like that, but how come DC doesn't kind of come up with these and like find a developer that wants to do something like this or tell them to do something like this? You have the money to do so, right? And so far, I believe this game is coming out in 2026. We've got the Cosmic Invasion coming out in September, November, just right before Christmas. But here we go. We got Spider-Man, we got Storm, and we got Robbie Reyes as Ghost Rider, and we've got Iron Man. Now, I'm not going to talk about the other side. One reason why is because I want to talk about Iron Man real quick. I love that his helmet looks like a Gundam. That is fan-freaking-tastic. That is... Can you imagine the other skins for these characters, what they could possibly look like? Will they be referencing... Now, of course, they're going to reference things from Marvel, you know, other skins and other things like that. But will they also reference things from other anime or manga? I hope so. I think so. And we know for a fact that it's going to have DLC and roster. And I've seen people making speculations, videos, and things like that. So I'm going to close it down here and say this is the older otaku saying that Marvel is better overall in games. We went through the history all the way back from Genesis and Super Nintendo, even mobile, and that for some reason, like I said, not all these games scored really high. And I didn't even bring up the bad Avengers game, the bad Thor game, the bad Wolverine game, and there's many more. But for some reason, those games still did sell, and people are collecting these older games. That's another thing that's weird. I didn't bring up the X-Men fighting games. You know, there are some other Avengers games and all these other things, right? But here's the thing. For some reason, their execution, their innovation, and their world building and the fun factor is there in Marvel versus DC. For DC, it just seems like the Injustice, the Mortal Kombat, and the Arkham games are the only three. Not a Flash game, not a Wonder Woman game, not a Green Lantern game, and nobody's collecting them. But I actively see people looking for that Hulk Ultimate Destruction. I see people playing the old X-Men fighting games and saying, you know what, this is not half bad. Or someone who really loves Wolverine. Hey, I know it's not the greatest game, but this is violent. This is fun. I gotta I gotta have this, you know. So anyway, thanks for listening. This is the Older Otaku. I'm out.